these alarming trends in our city, which prides itself in our diversity, are the likes of which we have never seen before.
An unprecedented rise in hate crimes. New numbers from Toronto police.
Tonight, the steps to protect the communities being targeted. Good evening. Toronto's police chief calls it an alarming trend.
A steady increase in hate-motivated incidents since the Israel-Hamas war broke out. The details outlined in a report today. And we want to warn you, some of the accounts are disturbing. CTV's Janice Golding joins us now live with the details. Janice.
Hi, Zarati. Yes, Toronto police are raising the alarm about a massive spike in hate crimes in our city. In fact, so far this year, there have been 323 incidents, with nearly a quarter taking place since October the 7th.
I personally received an email copied to some members of my management team that had a bomb threat saying that there were multiple bombs placed through the school and in the parking lot, and that many Jews were going to die on this day.
At the Police Services Board meeting this morning, members heard some disturbing accounts of anti-Semitism in our city.
We have seen Jewish businesses being targeted, vandalized, subject to boycotts.
Hate incidents, Toronto's police chief both acknowledged and condemned today.
The number of reported hate incidents and hate crimes has increased, and since October 7th, increased at a staggering rate.
In fact, the chief says since the onset of the Israel-Hamas war, the force has seen anti-Muslim, anti-Palestinian and anti-Arab hate crimes rise year over year from 1 in 2022 to 17 in 2023.
Which is a staggering 1,600% increase.
Meanwhile, anti-Semitic hate crimes have risen from 13 last year to 38 for the same time frame.
Among all the hate crimes reported between October 7th and November 20th, 49% have been anti-Semitic.
We have Jews in the city who are wanting to go into the closet about being Jews because they are physically afraid. And this is something I never thought I would see in the city.
The chief also says there's been an 80% increase in anti-LGBTQ2S plus hate crimes for this time period, rising from 5 in 2022 to 9 this year.
In response to the rise of reported hate crimes, the service has increased the size of our hate crime unit, a dedicated team of 6 officers with 21 investigators and 8 special constables, along with an analyst and a researcher.
Officers temporarily reassigned from other parts of the service to convey a clear message.
Hate has no space here.
In fact, since October the 7th, the hate crime unit has arrested 25 people and laid 64 charges. In one case alone, the vandalism of the Indigo bookstore at Bay and Bloor on November the 10th, 11 people are now facing charges. Police also noted a huge spike in hate-related graffiti since October the 7th, 280 incidents this year versus 21 for the same period last year. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Zoraida.
Thank you, Janice. Drivers heading south of the border today once again had to find alternatives to the Rainbow Bridge. The crossing remains closed after that fiery crash yesterday, which killed 2 people. The FBI handed the investigation to local authorities, saying no explosive materials were found. Echoing comments from U.S. officials, Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc said the Government of Canada and our law enforcement agencies will continue to work collaboratively with our American counterparts. However, I want to affirm that there is no evidence of terrorism at this time.
Niagara Falls police are treating the crash as a traffic incident. Footage released by U.S. Customs and Border Protection shows a light-colored sedan moving before it leaves the road and becomes airborne. Police haven't identified the people killed yet. Officials say a Border Patrol worker suffered minor injuries. All bridges other than the Rainbow Bridge are operating as usual.
Is a battle over bureaucracy delaying the effort to put a roof over the heads of unhoused people in Toronto?
For months, we've reported on homeless people and asylum seekers sleeping on the streets amid a bursting shelter system. Plans to do something about it appear to be hitting a roadblock, this as the temperature drops. CTV's Siobhan Morris is working on this story. She joins us live with the latest details. Siobhan.
Well, there's been a lot of confusion on this story over the last 24 hours or so. In the last hour, a bit of good news. We've learned that a welcome center for newcomers to Canada will open in Peel Region tomorrow. That's meant to connect newcomers with services. But questions remain about whether there are enough safe spaces for them to turn to get shelter. The mayor out of words to express her frustration.
Let's get on with it. People are desperate, and we need action now.
The city waiting for cash and access to space for thousands of asylum seekers and refugee claimants. Ottawa has offered some money to help run the Better Living Centre on the exhibition grounds as a respite centre.
Any kind of offer for funding assistance would be appreciated, but $5 million is a drop in the bucket. We're looking at something with 5,000 refugees.
The city needs more room, she says. It's why she's been pressing Ottawa to make Toronto's armories available for newcomers to get out of the cold.
Open up the Better Living Centre. Mark my word, it'll take one day, it'll be full.
The defense minister says he spoke with Olivia Chow on Monday.
I explained to the mayor, I thought quite clearly that over 3,000 Canadian Armed Forces members work out of those armories, and that the work they do is important.
He insists there are more humane places to temporarily house people.
They don't have adequate washroom facilities. It's not a private space. We even store armaments in those buildings.
For those working directly with those living on the streets, this is infuriating to watch.
While we have these orders of government who are squabbling with one another, effectively people are being left without any of the resources that they need to survive.
It's been a tough fall for newcomers to Canada, unaccustomed to our weather even before the deep freeze sets in.
Trench foot is a very real possibility for people, and so is hypothermia. So there are very, very high level health risks that are associated even with the weather that we have now.
And those risks will only rise as the temperature drops. Chan McNally says this is especially frustrating because she and other advocates had been flagging these coming issues with the federal government back in the summertime. And so we didn't have to be in this position in a race against time. Reporting live from City Hall, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Meantime, people living at an encampment in the Kensington Market area are bracing for an eviction. Advocates from the St. Stephen in the Fields Church say they received notice from the city. The tents will be removed and the area fenced off tomorrow.
I am heartbroken. I am extremely anxious for the people who live here. Some of the people who are here have been here for nearly 2 years now. This is their home. It is the closest thing to a home some of them have had for a very long time. They depend heavily on the supports they get from the church and from very nearby agencies. We are seeing people stabilizing and becoming healthier because they have a single place to be rather than being chased from park to park and doorway to doorway. And all of that is being put at risk now.
The city says the accumulation of combustible and hoarded materials pose a substantial risk to both those in the encampment and surrounding area.
Also tonight, buyers unloading homes at deep discounts after their pre-construction purchases prove much more expensive amid higher interest rates. CTV News investigates in moments. Well, we are learning more about a tentative deal to avoid an elementary teachers' strike at public schools across the province. On Tuesday, Education Minister Stephen Lecce said a potential agreement was in place with the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario. He said some issues would move to binding arbitration. A copy of the tentative deal now shows teacher salaries are one of those disputes. ETFO indicated it will push for a 1% annual wage increase alongside inflation rate adjustments. And our online team has much more in-depth analysis of the terms in the tentative deal. You can find their coverage on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
Let's take a live look outside. It was a mild start to the day, but a chill down is on the way. We are keeping warm, however, as we celebrate one of the most exciting nights of the year. For those of us here at CTV, it's definitely a sign of the upcoming season. CTV's Lindsay Morrison is live on remote as we launch Toy Mountain for a 28th year.
Yeah, Lindsay is at Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's in Vaughan, kicking off the effort to build a mountain of toys with the Salvation Army, helping children across the GTA, Linz.
Michelle and Zoraida, there are so many warm hearts in this building because we are ready to build a toy. Look at these amazing children. They're from the Star School Academy. We, of course, have some wonderful sponsors, including Bass Pro Shops, who we'll be speaking with. We have Best Buy here. We have Access Storage. And, of course, we have our friends from the Salvation Army. You'll likely remember Glenn Van Gulik, and we're going to meet Aaron in just a moment. But, Glenn, here we go again. Another wonderful campaign.
We're back again, excited about building a toy mountain. We've got so many children that are in need in our community. We know it's been tough, and that's why we're counting on you to help us build that mountain of toys. Thanks so much.
So for anybody who's watching right now, many of our viewers are of course familiar with this beloved campaign, but Erin, what are we hoping that viewers will do to help us build this toy mountain?
Yes, we're hoping that you will donate to any of the CTV Toy Mountain locations across the GTA. You can find the locations online at ctv.toymountain.ca, or a new unwrapped gift. So it's really helpful.
It's going to be wonderful, and you know what? It is a little bit, well, it's getting cool out there. The weather's starting to reflect the time of year. Let's take a look at our current weather conditions, beginning with the temperature. Yeah, we're starting to see that temperature fall now. We're at about 5 degrees here locally in Toronto. We've got some gusty winds coming out of the northwest, though. They're going to be with us through the night tonight, and as a result, some areas are even going to get a few flurries. That's going to be a possibility for us into the day tomorrow here in Toronto, believe it or not. Look at this overnight low, -4 degrees, wind chill -10. It's going to be chilly, but again, we're staying nice and warm inside Bass Pro Shops as we kick off the 28th annual Toy Mountain campaign in support of the Salvation Army. What is it we're building again? A toy? And we'll have lots more coming up. For now, Michelle and Zoraida, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. To a CTV News investigation now, and yet another consequence of high interest rates. There is what appears to be a fire sale out there on some real estate.
But it's not on properties the average buyer will come across. Listings obtained by CTV News show many owners willing to walk away from hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. CTV's John Woodward joins us with more. John, what's going on?
Well, Michelle, we know that it's harder to purchase a home now with higher interest rates, but imagine signing on to buy a home years ago when interest rates were low, only to have to pay for it now when rates and costs are much higher. There are a lot of people in that situation, and they are looking to get out of it. Rakithap Mahendran thought this house was going to be a dream home for him and his family.
When I buy this house, I will be very happy.
At least that was the plan. He signed the deal to buy this back in 2021 when a 5-year mortgage could be found for around 1%. But his contract said he had to close the deal this year with a comparable mortgage going for more than 5%. The monthly cost of his mortgage now?
$8,000 to $10,000.
And so that dream home became a nightmare.
Very, very upsetting.
Hardly the only buyer in that situation, says his realtor, Dion Anthony. His property was among many others seen by CTV News in a social media group because generally they are restricted from advertising. The listings show people calling themselves motivated sellers, trying to unload properties below market price, sometimes by hundreds of thousands of dollars.
They're all in the same situation where now they're looking to walk away from the property, many of them, and they're looking to take significant losses.
The issue for many, they bought in while the building was still under construction, thinking they'd face one interest rate, and then now that the building's done and they have to pay full price, they're facing much higher mortgage rates and higher costs. Some selling pre-sale condos they signed onto in a hot market, now looking to assign those contracts to others, even if they have to sacrifice their deposit.
We have seen as big of a loss of $280,000 of the deposit being wiped out.
Ari Zadigan of the Zadigan Group specializes in assignment sales. She says the number of properties on offer is high all across the country.
Because the interest rates are so much higher, the occupancy fees have gone through the roof.
We basically weren't going to be able to close on both.
This customer was able to sell one and hold on to another, protected because he bought early.
And the interest rate increases have affected my cash flow to the point where, I mean, it doesn't exist, right? So you're just kind of holding on right now.
Tough for sellers, but maybe not so bad for buyers if you have the capital.
The biggest opportunity today is really in the off-market space for assignments.
Mahendran isn't worried about losing money on the house. He's more worried about losing money every month.
When I sell this house, I am very happy.
He hopes his deposit will make a buyer happy too.
The realtors we talked to said the right advice does depend on the situation of any given owner, but added for those whose closing dates are in the future, it can be smart to save and try and hang on and hope for lower rates when you do have to get that mortgage. Reporting live, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland was in town today promoting Ottawa's new measures to tackle the soaring cost of housing.
We know Canada needs more homes, and we need more of them fast. Our government is doing our part, and we're approaching this task with the purpose, drive, and intensity that it requires, that it demands.
Freeland visited a rental housing development in the East End. On Tuesday, her fall economic statement outlined billions in loans to support new projects and the removal of GST on some eligible rentals.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister met with local trade students in St. John's as part of a series of commitments. Later this evening, he is set to deliver opening remarks for a summit between Canada and leaders of the European Union. Issues like climate, trade, and energy are on the agenda. The ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East will also be key topics.
There was an update from the OPP as they continue to investigate a deadly shooting in Caledon earlier this week. They've released images of a vehicle connected to the shooting, which happened at a house on Mayfield Road near Airport Road late Monday night. A man was pronounced dead at the scene and 2 women were taken to hospital. After the shooting, a truck was found on fire near Old Baseline Road and Credit View Road. Police have now connected that truck to the homicide and are looking for any information about the vehicle. OPP say the man killed was 54, but they've not released his name. The female victims remain in hospital in stable condition, but with critical injuries.
Peel police have made an arrest in connection with a carjacking that left a delivery driver dead earlier this year. The incident happened in Mississauga on July 9th near Britannia and Credit View Roads. 24-year-old Gurvinder Nath was critically injured after being confronted by suspects who stole his vehicle. Nath, who was an international student from India, was taken to hospital where he died a few days later. Police say a youth has now been arrested in connection with this incident. They have been charged with second-degree murder. Their identity is protected under the Youth Criminal Justice Act.
There was a serious crash north of Newmarket this afternoon. It happened at Green Lane and Main Street. York Regional Police say the call was received just before 2 o'clock. 2 vehicles were involved. Orange Air Ambulance responded and transported a woman in her 60s with critical injuries to a trauma center in Toronto.
And take a look at this video shared by the OPP. You are watching a wrong-way driver captured on dashcam video on November 15th. Police say the vehicle was traveling eastbound in the westbound lanes. This was on the 407 near Brock Street. The driver was stopped by the OPP. He's now been charged with stunt driving, resulting in a 30-day license suspension and a 14-day vehicle impound.
A pivotal moment in the Israel-Hamas war is set to take place mere hours from now.
A 4-day truce could see the release of 50 hostages and the delivery of much-needed fuel and aid into Gaza. CTV's Heather Wright with the details.
A pause to the war in Gaza is in sight for the first time in nearly 7 weeks.
The beginning of the pause will be 7 a.m. Friday.
Today, Qatar's foreign ministry laid out the timeline of the agreement between Israel and Hamas that will see 50 hostages held in Gaza exchanged for 150 Palestinian women and teenagers held in Israeli jails. The fighting will stop at 7 a.m. local time on Friday. At 4 p.m., the first group of 13 hostages will be released, along with an undisclosed number of Palestinian prisoners. On each day of the truce, lists of the hostages and prisoners to be exchanged will be relayed through Qatar, with members of the same family set to be released together.
It's definitely a step in the right direction.
Canadian Monsieur Showman is in Khan Yunis in the south and says this truce is desperately needed.
The humanitarian situation is spiraling down very fast. What is coming right now in from aid is negligible.
200 aid trucks and 4 fuel trucks will also be allowed to enter Gaza on each day of the pause, bringing some relief to the territory, which has run out of places to bury the dead. All the cemeteries are full, says this health ministry spokesman. We don't have a free grave. Israel says it has notified the families of the hostages that are set to be released tomorrow, while many others wait and hope.
We are waiting for her.
Leora Argamani's daughter Noah is believed to be among the hostages, seen in this video on the back of a motorbike, kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival. This is the order it should be, Noah's father says. First the children, Noah's turn will come.
This 4-day ceasefire can be extended, an additional day for every 10 hostages released. For now, though, the fighting continues, with many anxiously waiting until the pause begins. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu commented on the hostage deal with Hamas today.
We hope to get this first tranche out, and then we're committed to getting everyone out, but we'll continue with our war aims, namely to eradicate Hamas, because Hamas has already promised that they will do this again and again and again.
Netanyahu made those comments as he hosted the UK's new Foreign Secretary, former PM David Cameron.
I think it's an opportunity to crucially get hostages out and to get aid into Gaza. There's never an excuse for this sort of hostage taking. All the hostages should be released. But I hope everyone who's responsible and behind this agreement can make it happen.
Cameron also visited a kibbutz on the Gaza border that was targeted on October 7th. He is set to meet with Palestinian leaders as well on a wider visit to the Middle East.
CTV's John Musselman is in Maple tonight, where leaders from different faiths have gathered to make a united appeal for peace. John.
Well, that's right, Michelle. We're at the Beit Islamic complex here in Maple, and a news conference is going to get underway in just a short time, 6:30 tonight. Now, as you mentioned, this is all about united voices for peace. So what's happening here is they're inviting people from the Jewish community, the Christian community, and the Muslim community to all come together here to talk about finding common ground here. They know that there's a lot of tension in the outer community about what's going on in the Middle East. We had a chance to speak to the organizer of this event tonight. Here is what he had to tell us just a short time ago.
We are appealing to the sense of justice of all the people in Canada, that the three Abrahamic faiths have so much in common, and the Holy Quran, our holy book, invites us to ask us to invite the people of the book. Let us cooperate in things which are common between us, and mercy for the oppressed, and raising voices for absolute justice is common.
And all the invited speakers will begin here at around 6:30 tonight. Again, we'll have full coverage on this on CTV News tonight at 11:30. Reporting live in Maple, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Finland says it's closing more of its border crossings with Russia as migrants continue to try and cross into its territory illegally. Russian state TV showed lines of cars and migrants gathering near one crossing. European officials have suggested Russia is prompting an influx at the border in retaliation for Finland's growing military ties with the U.S. Finland joined NATO after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
Police in Ireland are investigating after an incident involving a knife that left several people injured in central Dublin today, including children.
My understanding is members of the public did intervene at a very, very early stage, and again, we would applaud those members of the public for getting involved in such a traumatic and potentially dangerous situation for themselves.
A woman and 3 children were injured. A man in his 50s is hospitalized with serious injuries and is considered a person of interest. Investigators said they didn't believe the incident was terror-related. Protests broke out near the scene, with demonstrators chanting anti-immigrant slogans and attacking police. Ireland's Justice Minister said those involved were using an appalling tragedy to wreak havoc.
Well, it gets colder on this side of the planet. A wildfire is burning out of control near Perth, Australia, as a heat wave sweeps through the region. Fire crews are tackling the flames from the air and on the ground. The fire has already destroyed at least 10 homes. Dozens of residents have been forced to flee. The fire began Wednesday afternoon and was fanned overnight by strong winds. Temperatures hit the high 30s today.
The rescue of 41 construction workers trapped for nearly 2 weeks in a collapsed tunnel in India has been hindered once again. During the final stretch of digging, blades from the drilling machine were damaged by a metal object in the debris. The machine is being repaired in an effort to get back to work as soon as possible. The workers have been trapped since November 12th, when a landslide caused a portion of the tunnel to collapse.
These are some of the intense moments captured on camera in the UK as a construction worker stuck on a building on fire was plucked to safety by a crane. The fire broke out this morning in Reading. Onlookers cheered as the crane lowered a cage to the roof and the worker got inside. More than 50 firefighters were on scene. 2 people were taken to hospital.
And the Vatican's Christmas tree arrived in St. Peter's Square today. It is a giant fir from northern Italy that was already slated to be cut down because it was at risk of collapsing. The tree will be lit up on December 9th, an event that is open to the public. It will remain in place until January 8th. It will then be turned into children's toys.
Coming up, a staple of American Thanksgiving fills the streets of New York City. The sights and sounds of the 97th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, including a disruption by demonstrators. Still ahead.
Well, we are having a wonderful time kicking off Toy Mountain here at Bass Pro Shops in Vaughan. Santa's here, and Rick's here too. Rick, tell me why it was so important for you as to become one of our amazing new sponsors this year with Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's Canada.
Yeah, who better to partner with than Toy Mountain and Salvation Army? We have a long-standing relationship with the Salvation Army, hosting the Red Kettle campaign in our stores all across the country, and now we have a chance to expand our partnership and reach more families, and we have an opportunity to make sure the Christmas spirit's shared with all the families in Ontario.
That's amazing. Thank you for what you are doing. Of course, viewers can come down, bring a new unwrapped toy to any Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop location across Ontario. Here's some other ways that you can help during Toy Mountain. You can, of course, donate. You can text toys. You can visit toymountain.ca. And this campaign is going to be going on for the next few weeks here. We have a full look at your weather forecast. And of course, we will have more live from Bass Pro Shops as we kick off Toy Mountain 2023. It's all coming up here on CTV News.
Well, this is it. We are kicking off this year's Toy Mountain campaign. It's the very beginning, and if you've ever tuned in, you know it is just going to grow and grow and grow, hopefully with your generosity at home.
Yeah, as cold and as dreary it is out there, Linz, when you look at all the smiles and all the bright colors in there, it just lights up the room.
And the music, too.
I think you're right. And, I think this change in weather is going to get people into the festive, the holiday, and the giving spirit, hopefully, as well. So we're kicking off Toy Mountain, and I want to introduce you to my friends from Toronto area Ford dealers. Welcome to both of you. Darcy, you're a familiar face to many of our viewers at home. Tell us a little bit about your involvement in Toy Mountain this year and what you've brought us tonight.
Well, you know what? It's been 14 years now, and we're very, very happy to be here. The Toronto area Ford dealers, put a lot of effort into this campaign. We're so proud to be part of it. And we've got a few presentations that are going to happen this year, but I'll turn that over to Curtis.
Hey, Curtis.
Hi, listen, we want to get it kicked off in the right direction. This is our 14th year. So this year we're really proud to present Toy Mountain and the Salvation Army with a check for $10,000.
Wow, absolutely amazing. Aaron, what do you think about that?
This is just amazing. We are so thankful to our corporate sponsors and our army of givers. It really does not go unnoticed. It's amazing.
And you may have noticed a vehicle behind me. Darcy, I'm wondering if you can come over here for a quick second and tell us what this Bronco Sport is doing here.
Well, now we're through COVID, we're back to giving a car away for Toy Mountain. And anyone who donates a toy at one of our 23 Toronto area Ford dealers has a chance to win this brand new Bronco Sport Outer Banks package. And it'll be a wonderful prize to put under your Christmas tree this year if you're the winner.
Well, we're going to try our best to fit that under the Christmas tree, but you're absolutely right. What an exciting part of this campaign, giving away a car as part of Toy Mountain. Lots more to talk about and celebrate, but we, of course, also want to get to your weather forecast. We'll let you know that the weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. We certainly have cooled down out here. We've got some gusty winds coming out of the northwest, and you may be wondering, where is the snow in Toronto? This year we've only had 2 centimeters of ice pellets. The last time we had no snow in November was back in 2012, but it's interesting, things could change over the next couple of days here. We have a winter weather travel advisory in place for the southern portions of Georgian Bay, as well as the shoreline of Lake Huron, where up to 10 centimeters of snow could fall overnight tonight and into tomorrow. This cold front really setting the lake effect machine known as the Great Lakes into motion. So here's how it's expected to play out on the forecast radar. Overnight, snow develops into tomorrow morning for those areas. We might see a few flurries here in Toronto. We could get clipped in the afternoon. It's about a 30% chance. Then we're going to dry out for your Saturday, mix of sun and cloud. And then Sunday, the next system moves in. This one could be a bit of a messy mix of rain and snow. Temperature-wise, look at this. Tonight we're dropping to a low near -4 degrees, wind chill -10. Bundle up if you're heading out and about early tomorrow morning. Eventually, we're expected to make it to a high of about 1 degree, but keep in mind the normal this time of year is around 5. So here's your 7-day forecast. We got to get used to these cooler temperatures as we make our way through next week. A reminder that between Sunday and Tuesday, we have the potential to be a little unsettled around here. Again, we are kicking off Toy Mountain with some amazing sponsors, including our friends at Best Buy. What have you brought for us tonight?
Hi. So we're super excited to be here to be we're celebrating 17 years of supporting Toy Mountain over here. We're very excited to be back, and right now we actually have a donation of $5,000 to help to help improve kids the holidays and help improve their holidays.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, we're going to be seeing you guys at Best Buy soon. We're going to be seeing the Toronto area Ford dealers in the coming weeks as well. So much fun here, and we're just getting started. Michelle and Zoraida, I'll send it back inside to you for now.
Lindsay, we're blown away by the generosity and right off the bat. Thank you so much. Well, the largest craft show in North America is back for another year at Exhibition Place. Doors open today at the one-of-a-kind winter show at the Enercare Centre. More than 650 different artisans from all across Canada are showcasing their work for sale, everything from plants to jewelry to food.
There's been a lot of great feedback. People are wandering by and telling me that it's really beautiful, which is, wonderful to hear when you put in so much work. And yeah, it's great. It's also really inspiring seeing all of the other artists.
The show runs on weekdays and Saturdays from now until December 3rd.
Another sure sign the season is around the corner. The original Santa Claus Parade takes to the streets of Toronto this weekend. This will mark the 119th edition of the celebration, which always features festive floats, a who's who of local bands and marchers, and of course, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. The parade gets underway at 12:30 on Sunday afternoon at Christie and Bloor before winding up at St. Lawrence Market. Also tonight, clusters of respiratory illness among children in China prompt the WHO to call for more information. Is this cause for alarm? Canada's health experts weigh in.
The World Health Organization is taking an uptick in respiratory illness in China very seriously.
But as CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, most health experts are calling for a wait-and-see attitude.
The WHO is asking China for more information after it reported clusters of an undiagnosed pneumonia in northern regions.
There's some information coming out through the World Health Organization indicating that there's an increase in what seems to be some respiratory illness activity. I suppose at this stage, who knows exactly what's happening? We just have to monitor it for the time being.
Many hospitals are swamped with cases, and China is blaming the lifting of pandemic restrictions.
Most of the world is experiencing increased rates of respiratory infections in children. And a lot of it, like last year, was one of the worst years we ever had on record. And we had, it's because the masks and the public health measures being removed. We had COVID, influenza, RSV, and other respiratory viruses.
But there are fears that the current situation echoes the start of COVID-19.
It's sort of a situation mirroring what happened when this first started, when COVID first started. The WHO are probably being a bit more proactive and a bit more transparent.
Professor Thomas Tenkate of Toronto Metropolitan University says the information offered by China itself is a good start.
So in a lot of ways, it's good that we're hearing this. The question is, what do we do with it? And really, I think we're at that wait and see stage.
It is common for the WHO to ask for details about clusters of illness. And while we wait for more information, Dr. Anna Banerjee says we should look to our own country.
I'm concerned about what's happening right now in Canada with the number of kids that are being admitted.
Canadian health experts say we've learned a lot since the pandemic, and only if we find some new strain of virus do we need to be alarmed. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Oscar-winning actor Jamie Foxx has been accused of sexual assault. The lawsuit alleges that he groped a woman at a rooftop bar in Manhattan back in August of 2015. The lawsuit says Foxx began groping the woman against her will until her friend interrupted the two of them. Foxx is best known for his Academy Award-winning performance of Ray Charles in the 2004 film Ray.
And Guns N' Roses frontman Axl Rose has been accused of a violent sexual assault dating back more than 3 decades. Former Penthouse magazine model Sheila Kennedy filed a sexual assault lawsuit in New York. She says the incident happened the same night she first met Rose inside a New York City nightclub in 1989. Kennedy is suing the singer for battery, assault, gender-motivated violence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. A lawyer for Rose issued a statement saying the incident, quote, never happened.
Buffy St. Marie is pushing back on a recent report questioning her Indigenous heritage, saying she has never lied about her identity.
So you better hang on and hey, you better run.
The 82-year-old responded to the report in a statement today, saying it was an attack on her character, life, and legacy. She says her adoptive mother, who was of Indigenous heritage, told her that she was as well. St. Marie questioned the documents brought up in the report, adding she has tried to find concrete answers herself for decades.
She said in part through that research what became clear and what I've always been honest about. I don't know where I'm from or who my birth parents are, and I will never know. Most importantly, this is my life. I am not a piece of paper. I am a product of both my families and all my experiences in this world. A CBC spokesperson said the broadcaster stands by the report.
Well, they're almost always mentioned in the same breath, but it looks like there are some major tensions between Hall and Oates. People magazine reports Daryl Hall was granted a temporary restraining order against John Oates after filing an unspecified lawsuit against his bandmate. The pair most recently performed as a duo last year. Neither of their representatives commented on People's report.
While many people count down to the winter holidays, Beyoncé fans are watching the calendar for the release of her upcoming concert film.
I have nothing to prove to anyone at this point.
Baby, can I take you?
We are creating our own world.
The Grammy winner shared the final official trailer for Renaissance, a film by Beyoncé. It promised a close look not only at the world tour, but the singer's inspirations and creative process behind the scenes. Screenings start next week.
Ringo Starr is looking to dispel any misunderstandings about the recently released Beatles song Now and Then and how much it relied on artificial intelligence.
I know it's true. It's all because of you.
Starr told AARP magazine that he had teamed up with Paul McCartney and used artificial intelligence to extract John Lennon's voice from a lower quality recording. But he said the singing itself was not AI generated. He added, quote, Paul and I would not have done that.
Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boy. Who's better? Nobody.
Got a hankering to order in? Ontarians have endless options, but when they opt to skip the meal prep, which meals get the most clicks? The results after the break.
On the next CP24 Breakfast.
Our conversation with celebrated Canadian crooner Michael Bublé, who will help us get into the spirit of the season.
That's on the next CP24 Breakfast, up first at 5:30.
The service has increased the size of our hate crime unit, a dedicated team of 6 officers with 21 investigators and 8 special constables.
Updating our top stories, Toronto police are increasing efforts to address hate crimes in the city. Chief Myron Demke providing an updated figures, which showed since the start of the Israel-Hamas war on October 7th, there have been 17 Islamophobic or anti-Palestinian hate crimes compared to just 1 during the same period last year. Anti-Semitic hate crimes have also risen from 13 last year to 38 this year.
While we have these orders of government who are squabbling with one another, effectively people are being left without any of the resources that they need to survive.
Mayor Olivia Chow continues to put pressure on the federal government for more funding to house the growing number of people leaning on shelter supports and to address the escalating refugee crisis. Earlier this week, Chow asked the Ministry of Defense to open up the federal armories at Fort York and Moss Park as emergency shelters, but the two sides remain at a standstill.
When I buy this house, I will be very happy.
High interest rates and inflation are leaving some homeowners desperate to unload their properties for hundreds of thousands of dollars below market rate. A CTV News investigation revealed the buyers locked in the sale while the home was still under construction, thinking they would face one interest rate, but found out their rate significantly increased once the build was completed.
In business news, U.S. stock markets were closed for Thanksgiving today. So for investors, it was all eyes on Canada. BNN Bloomberg's Jacqueline Hansen reports.
The TSX ended the day just a touch higher, adding ever so slightly to its November gains. Stock markets typically trade higher in November, and the Toronto Composite Index is living up to that expectation so far. This month, the TSX is up more than 5%. If it holds on to that gain, it would be the best month since January. The positive momentum has been broad-based across all sectors on the TSX, especially technology. However, the energy sector has been an exception, dragged down in part by a slump in the price of oil. Let's take a look at some of the closing market numbers for today. The Canadian dollar is flat at just a bit over 73 cents US. West Texas Intermediate oil declined 75 cents to about $76 US a barrel. And Western Canadian Select declined about 50 cents to a bit below $53 US a barrel. As for stock markets, the TSX gained just 2 points to end the day at 20,116.66. That is the latest in business. I'm Jacqueline Hansen of BNN Bloomberg.
As we reach the end of the year, more food delivery companies are sharing some stats about ordering habits here in Ontario. Skip the Dishes says its largest order of the year in Ontario was $789.50 for 70 tacos and 25 orders of chips with guac. Ontarians' top ordered dish was butter chicken. And if you like pickles, you weren't alone. Turns out Ontario was the province that ordered the most pickles. Skip the Dishes called that a pretty big deal.
In sports, the Toronto Raptors squeaked out a win in a high-scoring affair against the Indiana Pacers last night.
You need it. Any issues?
Collision there. Here's Scotty. Turns the corner. Slam dunk. And a foul.
Scotty Barnes gave the Raptors the lead with seconds left in the game. Indiana missed a three as time ran out, giving Toronto a 132-131 win. The Raps will be back on the court on Friday to take on the Chicago Bulls.
The Maple Leafs will play an afternoon game tomorrow in Chicago as Americans celebrate Thanksgiving weekend. Toronto hasn't played since Sunday in Sweden, where they took both games in Stockholm. During the NHL's Global Series, the Leafs come into tomorrow's game winners of 4 straight. Puck drop is at 2 p.m.
And rehearsals are underway in Greece at the ancient Olympia site for the Olympic flame lighting ceremony. Officials have revealed that 600 torchbearers will carry the flame through mainland Greece and 7 of its islands starting on April 16th. Greece's Olympic rowing champion Stefanos Netouskos will be the first torchbearer. The flame will be handed over to Paris organizers on April 26th for the French relay. The games begin on July 26th. Just ahead, it's a spectacle like no other. A Thanksgiving tradition draws thousands to the streets of New York City. The sights and sounds and the protests that blocked the route before police stepped in.
Well, Santa's decided to go for a swim here at the tank at Bass Pro Shops. Coming up, we're going to talk about how you can make a difference during this year's Toy Mountain campaign. Plus, one more look at your weather is coming up.
Santa, wonderful. Well, a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight, and a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
As Americans celebrate Thanksgiving, many of them were glued to their TV sets today to take in the annual tradition, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Thousands also turned out in person in Manhattan to take in the vibrant sights and exciting sounds of the festivities. The 97th edition of the parade featured marching bands, more than 24 giant floats, and 8,000 participants. Partway along the parade route, a group of pro-Palestinian protesters tried to disrupt the event by gluing themselves to the street. Police intervened and took them into custody. The parade was able to continue without too much apparent interruption. Here at home, let's go back to Vaughan for our Toy Mountain campaign. Lindsay.
And you know, Michelle and Zoraida, Black Friday is tomorrow. It's a great day to do some shopping. Rick, you've got something special going on here at Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, big day for us. Black Friday starts at 7 a.m. There's gift cards for the first 100 people that are in line tomorrow morning, up to $200. And what a great time to bring in a new unwrapped toy and get a ballot to enter a contest to win a $3,000 package, camping package.
That's amazing. And Aaron, remind our viewers what kinds of age groups we're looking for toys for this year.
Yes, so we are looking for the ages 0 to 3 years old, as well as the 8 to 10-year-olds and up to 12 years old as well. Definitely gifts for those age groups.
Something to keep in mind if you're doing a little bit of shopping and feeling generous this holiday season. Let's take one more look at your 7-day forecast. We are going to cool down into tomorrow, and over the weekend we've got some snow possibly in the forecast too. I also want to remind you that you can send us your photos and your videos as you participate in Toy Mountain. If you drop off a toy at one of our various locations, send us a photo. It could end up here on our newscast. This has been a wonderful launch here at Bass Pro Shops in Vaughan. I'm going to step aside just so you can enjoy the sights and sounds of the Star Academy. Michelle and Zoraida, I'll send it back to you.
We're already in the festive spirit. Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, everybody there. Well, be sure to join us after the football game for our next local newscast.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a great night.